from this Ramadan to next Ramadan, how am I going to be a better Muslim?
Even in a Muslim community, is it possible our iman goes down? Is it possible that we don't feel as close to Allah in one generation after the next, that we're becoming further and further away from Allah? Is it possible we're becoming more materialistic, more ghafil of Allah, that we don't cry in salat anymore, that we don't feel like reciting Quran much anymore? Our du'as have become empty. We just recite some words and say them, we don't even know what they mean, and we don't even care. Is that possible? Is that problem possible? When a Muslim community has that problem, how can they fix it again? How can they get back on track? These are the ayat. These are the ayat. Which means these ayat will be relevant for you and me, not just as a nation, even as a person. Forget about the entire country. Forget about the entire ummah. Just think about yourself. Aren't there days where you have become so far from Allah that you need to get back and you don't even know how? Where do you begin? I feel so distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's been so long since I cried in a salah. It's been so long since I felt a connection with Him. How do I feel that connection? So many people ask that question. It is in these ayat that the answer lies. Step 1, يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. He recites onto them what? His ayat. We have to engage the word of Allah. We have to recite the word of Allah. We have to stop and think about the word of Allah. We have to think about the fact that every time Allah is speaking, He's talking to me. He's talking to me directly. Wallahi, the greatest gift you will ever have in your life is the gift of Allah's speech. Allah chose to speak to you. Allah chose to speak to me in this book. No other religion gives you this kind of direct access to Allah, that Allah is talking to you and me. But some people say, no, but Allah is only talking to the Prophet ﷺ. He's not talking to me. This is not a book for me. This is a book for the ulama, for the scholars. I just recited with tajweed, but I'm not supposed to think about it. Fihi dhikrukum, Allah says. In it, Allah is talking about you. That's literally what He says. In it is your mention. It's about you.
And we're not just here to serve the ummah. We're here to fix the world. You have to think that big. You have to aim that high. Don't shortchange yourself. Don't underestimate yourself. And even though we are just at the end of the day slaves of Allah, and we are the lowest before Him, the closest we are to Allah is when we put ourselves the lowest on the ground. That's our humility to Allah. But when Allah gives you a gift, and Allah gives you intelligence, and Allah gives you an educational opportunity, and Allah gives you a creative idea, and Allah gifts you with a talent, and you say, I'm way too humble to exercise my talent, then that is not humility, that is ingratitude. That is ingratitude. You have to exercise your talents. You have to make the most of yourself.